always do that in the beginning because I hope that's what the opening screen is me just like, oh dang, I forgot to take my medicine. That it's totally inappropriate to take on camera. Well, good morning, everybody. This is Justice's Waiting Room, a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. My name is Jared. I'll be your host. And have been for more than a year, and that's something. Don't worry, I'll get over to the chat. I was clicking buttons. Just clicking buttons. Just doing my thing. Happy Saturday. At 3 p.m. Eastern this afternoon is the annual Army Navy football game. Go Navy, beat Army. And let's start with a bang, shall we? The EU has agreed to indefinitely freeze Russian assets, removing an obstacle for the Ukraine to get a loan. So understand that there are elected officials in the United States that are invested in Russia's success in Ukraine and in its development in places like Crimea. Okay? So understand that Marco Rubio, Trump, Scott Walker, Mitch McConnell, they all have taken millions of dollars from Russia. And their investment is aimed at building a resort in Crimea. Understand that if I can connect you to Russia, it probably don't take much to connect them to Israel too. And somehow connected to the development of Gaza after they've driven all the Palestinians out. Again, free Palestine, Slavic Ukraine, every single day, every single day. Understand that if you've taken money from Russia and you're an American, you're a traitor. When you do them a favor back, you're a traitor. That's what that is. Russia is our enemy. Russia put bounties on American soldiers, up to $250,000 a mission. So if you're a Republican, still, if you're MAGA, still, if you're an elected official and you took money from Russia and now you're trying to do Russia favors, traitor. Long prison terms. Hmm? Also punishable by death. You should not do things that are punishable by death and long prison terms. I'm just throwing this out there as someone without a criminal record. It's not wise. As I've said before, the long arm of the law is not partisan. So, me wanting justice and the rule of law to prevail, that's not partisan. Now, it just so happens that the MAGA doesn't give a fuck about the rules, and that Democrats have been seen as cops. Kamala was a cop. So understand the EU is not our enemy. NATO, the UN, these aren't our enemies. So when they're doing things that fly in the face of what our elected leadership is doing, you know they're doing it wrong here. Now, without going into too much detail, I watched a video this morning from one of the creators that I like, talking about how Russia is exaggerating their movement in order to not die. So these Russian military commanders are lying about what they're accomplishing in terms of uh, moving into Ukraine, and Ukraine is saying, well, they told us that they had us surrounded. That's what they told their superiors. Now we have them surrounded. And so you can see how the Ukraine ain't no shit. They just straight up get it done. Russia is using drone and missile barrages to cut off big cities like Odessa and Mykolaiv in the middle of winter. They're attacking your morale. They're not able to meet you on the battlefield and meet you 1v1. They're attacking your families, children's hospitals, schools, churches. This is the Russian MO. Places that most countries would never war in a midwinter. Germany is sending soldiers to fortify the Polish border. Tons of war crimes. Oh yeah. Hegseth, Trump, they're all getting charged. And I understand that being president doesn't keep you from getting charged internationally. I'm reading. You do not want Ukraine making territorial concessions. That's what I'm. So here's Euromaidan Press. They want, basically, they're trying to create like a DMZ and then profit off it. So they're promising NATO style security in exchange for a free economic zone or demilitarized zone. So what they're this is the American elected officials that have vested interest in Russia trying to make sure they get something out of the deal, which would be like them owning the little like coffee shops in the DMZ and shit at this point, the little B&B, I'm guessing, a little hotel or some shit in Donbass. They're trying to create like a demilitarized zone and saying like if Russia enters this space, it will protect you under NATO Article 5, and they're trying to get permission to build. God, just like in Gaza. And I agree. The Marjorie Michelle, the health minister, says she worries about U.S. public health decisions harming Canadians. Yep, you need people that'll run for public office that'll call it out. Large gathering of workers reported at South Pars oil field. One of Iran's most significant energy sites held a large gathering in Azuela following 18 consecutive weeks of protest. Largest labor assemblies recorded in the history of Iran's oil and energy sector. More than 5,000 workers. 2 by 2 shifts for office staff, no unpaid labor. So understand, you know, hey, they're just doing what America's been doing. The Czech Republic has delivered 1.8 million rounds of ammunition to Ukraine. From the Odessa Journal. And here's the new voice of Ukraine. Yeah, keep in mind, we are capable of change. All that has been done wrong hasn't been forgiven. We could still elect people that, in addition to wanting to progress us forward, are also willing to look back and say, these people need held accountable. And not blink on that shit. And not back off and not waffle. And when they announce that they can't be in politics anymore and they get a prison sentence, you're like, don't break the law. The fuck? What are we talking about? All of them. All of them. Russia must shrink its army for any peace to hold. Any peace deal to end Russia's war in Ukraine will only last if Moscow makes real concessions, including limiting the size of its armed forces and curbing its growing military budget. And if they're expanding their military budget, and they're increasing their recruiting, they have no intentions of stopping that war, right? Remember Donald Trump, the peace president? He says he negotiated peace between Thailand and Cambodia. Yeah, well, they're still attacking each other. Yeah, good morning. Happy birthday. Yeah, he's just trying to stay alive. He's not trying to. And first, Syria approves the restoration of Jewish property in synagogues. Progress. Let's share the show, shall we? Reminder to, while you listen to the show, make sure you like, comment, and share to help us grow. Good morning. Have a super Saturday. Justice's Waiting Room, a daily podcast discussing news and politics, is live. It's alive on Twitch and YouTube. Here are the links. You should come watch. Hashtag JWR. Twitch, YouTube, and then like we say every day, Free Palestine, Slava Ukraine. Keep it consistent. And, I'll ask, hey, if you're on Blue Sky or Facebook still or Twitter still, might as well help share the show, right? So while I'd prefer that you weren't, weren't using these sites. I know a lot of people still are. You can pretty much find me, Likely Alien, pretty much everywhere. Okay. Here's a link to the post to share the show. The UN backs ICJ declaration that UNRWA isn't infiltrated by Hamas, and Israel denounces the vote. The head of the Palestinian agency hails strong endorsement from General Assembly. U.S. also slams unserious and biased resolution, condemns UNWRA as a Hamas subsidiary. The vote that Hamas has infiltrated So the UN General Assembly has given a strong endorsement to the ruling by the International Court of Justice. So this is Israel and the United States working together to delegitimize the ICJ and ICC. And we make sure that we sit and we talk about it, and we're talking about world news. So there's a reason that we're Ukrainians are suing U.S. chip firms for powering Russian drones and missiles. We talked about this yesterday, so this is just a continuation on that. Remember, Texas Instruments, AMD, Intel have ignored public reporting, government warnings, and shareholder pressure to do more to track final destinations of chips and shut down shady distribution channels, diverting chips to sanctioned actors in Russia and Iran. And here's the thing. I remember while I was on active duty questioning the military-industrial complex, particularly when I was on my way out. I sat through what's called SEPs and TAPs. And in SEPs and TAPs, I was being openly, meaning in a room full of people, hey, you're in the infantry, right? Yeah. Blackwater and Triple Canopy. Companies that receive our tax dollars as part of military spending. Okay? You want to talk about war criminals and mercenaries? That's what they do in Blackwater and Triple Canopy. Why would the U.S. government give our tax dollars to companies that will do things like extrajudicial murder outside of the law? Well, if we don't, they'll fight against us. They'll get hired by foreign countries, and we'll go to war, and it'll be us warring against American mercs. So if we don't give them money, they'll become disloyal, and us doing business with them and giving them our tax dollars, they won't sell their product anywhere else. Uh huh. So that substantiates the investment that you won't let some of your products slip through a back channel. Right, right. Yep. Well, here are three mega corporations in the United States: Texas Instruments, AMD, and Intel, that have ignored public reporting, government warnings, and shareholder pressure to do more to track final destinations of chips and shut down shady distribution channels, diverting chips to sanction actors in Russia and Iran. And that sounds an awful lot like a betrayal of the public trust of the American people. And I move to divest. I think not only Americans, but I think the U.S. government should divest from these companies. Hmm. If you're not going to limit the sale of your product to people that mean us harm, that mean Americans harm, my tax dollars aren't going towards that. Sorry. Just the same as I feel if you're a farmer in the United States and you're producing shit in the US and you don't sell your product stateside, all that shit goes overseas. Oh, and it's to a country that we don't that isn't our ally too, like North Korea or China or Russia or Hungary, or there's a whole list of countries that are on like the American shit list. Why should you get a subsidy from the government? Why should our tax dollars keep your farm open? Why should they be bailing out farmers who don't produce things for Americans? They make it to make money, they sell it overseas, bro. Remember, the primary use for corn is fuel. I know that it's a terribly inefficient biofuel, but fuel nonetheless. And that, again, I'm repeating myself. In my eyeballs, if the American tax dollar is being given to a company, that company needs to be producing something for the United States, producing a product or service for the United States, and only for her. It's like a loyalty pledge. We'll prop your fucking bullshit ass company up. You only produce that for us. You produce it for anyone else, it slips into our enemy's hands. It's over. We're cutting off the juice. What the fuck are we talking about? Dozens of Ukrainian civilians have filed lawsuits. Now, here's Maria Corina Machado, who they're trying to install. The UK has launched a new military intelligence service citing rising security threats. Gabby asked, I didn't know that about corn. Is that why it ruins the soil? From what I understand, corn sucks the nutrients out of the soil. I mean, think about how big them fucking plants get. You know what I think about? How terribly inefficient corn is. It's super nutrient um, dense, and what it produces isn't. Corn's not very good for you. That doesn't mean that I don't eat it. Shit. It's just not a fucking feature in my diet. Your body doesn't digest it. You ever notice if you eat corn, you shit it out? You can't digest the husk. So the only edible part is inside the husk. That slimy shit. Ugh. More I think about it, corn's gross. But yeah, it's terribly inefficient. That thing's like 10 feet tall and has 3 ears of corn on it. Yeah, no, that's terribly inefficient. Soybeans are efficient. Hmm. Yeah, we love popcorn too. Mm. Forces foreigners seeking Russian residency to sign army contract. So here's, Donald Trump's hero, Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty. See, colonoscopies with whole pieces of corn. Yep, because your body can't digest the husk. Putin is forcing foreigners who are seeking Russian residency, immigrants, to sign army contracts. State run and privately owned Russian media outlets have made almost no mention of the requirement. Jesus. So, first of all, who the fuck would want to immigrate to fucking Russia? What the fuck? Pawns in the meat grinder. That's right. U.S. Marxist group Freedom Road Socialist Organization, recognized by President Maduro for Venezuela solidarity work during peace. Members of the Freedom Road Socialist Organization, FRSO, participated in a solidarity delegation in Venezuela along with members of the Anti War Action Network, the National Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression, Workers' World Party, and the Harriet Tubman Center. They were there to attend the International People's Assembly for Sovereignty and Peace, hosted by the Simon Bolivar Institute for Peace and Solidarity Among Peoples. Yeah, some people poop it out, and some people it stays in your intestines. It's, Iran has arrested Nobel Peace Prize laureate Narges Mohammadi. Mohammadi. The foundation in her name said she was detained in Mashhad, while attending a memorial for human rights lawyer recently found dead under unclear circumstances. Obviously, it's deeply concerning to arrest. Yeah, they called on the Iranian authorities to immediately clarify Mohammadi's whereabouts, ensure her safety and integrity, and to release her conditions. She was violently detained. Thousands strike and march in Italy against Maloney's budget. So here's Italy again, not fucking it up. Go Italy. A top South Korean shipbuilder is arming the Philippines with a new fleet of warships built for tougher fights. Russia has attacked two Ukrainian ports, which damaged three Turkish owned vessels. So, this is how wars start. Oh, no? Okay. Israel and Qatar hold secret meeting in New York to rebuild ties. Axios is reporting. Yep. UAE is making a major $550 million pledge to the UN's 2026 humanitarian appeal. Can't come fast enough, right? I don't know why that happened. Secret FBI meetings with Ukrainian peace officials. There's nothing like justified violence. There's absolutely nothing like, you know, let me explain it to you as someone who I feel it in my bones that I have experienced justified violence. Okay? Let me tell you a little story. When I was a senior in high school, there was a girl in my graduating class who was in an abusive relationship with someone who was a year ahead of us and had already graduated high school. His name was Will. Okay? Will broke all the rules, was basically a fucking criminal, beat the shit out of this girl I graduated with. Okay? Pretty frequently. She kept her hair super short so he couldn't pull it. She couldn't even keep a ponytail. And one day, she got a phone call while we were in a math class and bolted. And I looked at my teacher, and she looked outside and said, Will is coming in the side entrance door of the school, and he doesn't look very happy. And as soon as I opened the door to the hallway, I heard her say, "Stop, Will." And I saw him grab her by her face. And I was about 30 yards away, 100 feet. And all I know is that I kind of came back to it in the principal's office about an hour and a half later. And I was like, I blacked out. What happened? And he was like, "Well, you ran into Will so hard that we're not sure if he'll ever walk again." Huh. Ain't that about a bitch? What happened? Oh, I'll show you the tape. There's film? Yeah. hmm I ran as absolute motherfucking fast as I could, and I put 240 pounds at 6'3" and a senior in high school straight into some wiry 6 foot 150-pound person and about crushed them. hmm Justified. He's a fucking janitor now. Justified. That's called justified violence. I feel absolutely nothing for that. He had already beat the shit out of her and he was doing it in public. hmm I know exactly what it fucking feels like. And there aren't very many people that can say that they've experienced justified violence. Because the receiving end typically turns to fucking dust. And the person committing the violence is just justified. Like, well, this is what happens. And no, mm-mm, I didn't get in trouble at all. Mm-mm, nope. And there's only like a handful of times in your whole life that that'll ever happen. Every other time that you commit an act of violence, it has to be like wrong. It's wrong, right? You're not justified in your action. But this is yeah, it sucks. We just don't have any clear path. Yeah, it's like every person that we're supposed to put a little faith in, you know, has some idiot takes on Israel. I don't know what to believe about Talarico and Crockett, right? Fortunately for me, they're in Texas. But one of them has a track record of verbally sparring with Trump, and the other is actually an accomplished legislator. It's like, which would you rather have? Somebody that can write a bill or someone that can argue with Bill, right? Donald or whatever. So here's in Tunisia. A Tunisian court sentenced prominent opposition figure Abir Moussi to 12 years in prison, her lawyer said on Friday, in what a rights group is saying is another step towards entrenching President Kais Saied's one man rule. The ruling is unjust. It's not a just judicial decision, but a politically motivated order. Muzi, the leader of the Free Constitutional Party, has been in prison since 2023 after police arrested her at the presidential palace entrance on suspicion of assault intended to cause chaos in what critics say was part of a crackdown on opposition politicians. Danish intelligence accuses the U.S. of using economic power to assert its will over its allies. This is the first time that the Danish Defense Intelligence Service has listed the U.S. as a threat to the country. Ukraine, U.S., and Europe still seeking common ground in peace talks. Yeah, too bad. Too bad you can't have elect both. I want to make sure we point out the Ukraine did not agree on this free economic buffer zone. Okay, so this again, I want to continue to point this out. Okay, the powers that be, the regime in charge. This is Trump, Rubio, McConnell, Scott Walker. Okay, and there are others. They received investment from Russian oligarchs. They are trying to capitalize on their investment. So they received 1 million. They put a half a million of that in. I'm using round numbers. They put a half a million in the 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 settlement and the rebuilding of any parts of Ukraine that Russia takes. They're invested in the rebuilding of new Russia, right? Because remember, Ukraine is a non-NATO, non-UN state. This shit should have been over in 6 months. And instead, what has happened is the Ukrainian people said hell no. And now neighboring countries are like, we need Ukraine in the UN and NATO. They're strong. They stood up to Russia. And now they're all pouring in their support because here we are almost 4 years later. Russia has no intent to leave Ukraine. And Israel refuses to withdraw from Syria. So here's Israel, again, being expansionist and imperialist and just moving in on Syria. It's ours now. The drafted peace plan has Ukraine joining the EU on January 1, 2027, by the way. And you want to talk about the economy? Switzerland is going to buy fewer F 35s. So, how do you think the American economy is going to work when nobody will buy the shit we do make? Here's Zelensky visiting Kupiansk. A little tear in my eye. I'm just kidding. I had something in my eye. Zelensky praises his troops after a report of a successful Ukrainian counterattack. Yeah, and they're doing all they can to distract you from the fact that they're about to release these Epstein files. Jack Smith's about to give all the deets up. So it feels like an increase in it feels like every day is an escalation upon the prior. Every day, some more depraved shit happened or is about to happen. And the world is a stage. So all there's a reason we talk about world news first, because there are some things that you need to understand that are happening all over the world that has a direct impact on us here in the United States. Okay, Montreal, Ottawa have been chosen as first segment of a promised high speed rail line. Allies seem to think that their enemies are our enemies. Yeah. Let's switch over to U.S. news and politics. Okay. U.S. Supreme Court justices to be term limited under a new bill. Here's a start. Here's a start. Good morning. It's going. This is Justice's Waiting Room. My name is Jared. This is a daily live podcast. We discuss news and politics. We're about halfway through our show. We go for about 90 minutes a day. We start 8 a.m. sharp, talk about world news and politics, and then about halfway through the show, we switch over to U.S. news and politics. Iowa and Ohio are the latest states to flip negative on Trump. Battlegrounds states, you know what I'm saying? The Jewish Voice for Peace Action. Coalition partners demand Democratic leadership call to stop arming Israel at their DNC winter meeting. America cannot win alone from the New York Times. Mm, yeah. All right. Lots going on over America. Lots going on all over the world. The world is preparing for war. I don't know what the fuck we're doing here. I ain't figured it out yet. U.S. Veterans Affairs Agency plans as many as 35,000 healthcare job cuts this month. Thank you. Thank you for voting. If you're a veteran and you voted for Donald Trump, you just fucked up a whole bunch of your buddies' healthcare. I'll never fucking forgive you. I got nothing to say to you either. And I ain't never letting it go. Corporate Democrats are foolishly surrendering the AI fight. I don't know if I've spoken about this at length before, but you know, I've been helping people on the phone for a long time. And just like the data says, most of the people that I talk to are living paycheck to paycheck. Some are in worse position than others. Most people don't have a savings account at all. Most people, if they have a savings account, they're using it to pay bills. Wages are falling. Your dollar doesn't buy as much as it used to. Your healthcare costs are about to skyrocket. Um, for the record, the only people that should be paying for healthcare are the people that are having healthcare problems right now. And if everyone else that's like healthy just was like, nah, I'm not paying $700 a month for healthcare, thousands of dollars, I'm not doing that. It will fuck up the healthcare system. People have to be enrolled in healthcare in order for healthcare to work. And if people just don't do that and pay out of pocket when you go, one of the things that people are finding out is it costs a lot less. And the care isn't any different. So, as somebody that's a disabled veteran that gets, until they shut it off, free healthcare and doesn't have to pay for it, I also want everyone to have universal healthcare. And if you asked me, how do you get universal healthcare? And there are two paths. And the one path is everybody just takes it. Whatever happens, happens. Whatever you got to pay, you pay. If you go broke and die, you go broke and die. But does that incentivize the healthcare companies to drop their prices? Nope. You know what would incentivize them to drop their prices? If people just said, oh, I can't afford that, fuck that, I guess I'm going without. And everybody did it. Okay? Now, what I want to talk about at length here for just a moment, okay, is a lot of my most ardent supporters are already clients. So don't think that by me bringing this up that it's because I need money. I do fantastic at work. I hope the people that listen to this show are listening to what I'm saying when I'm talking about my job because it's highly relevant. I work in finance. Money is everything. It moves everything. Okay? Um, the company that I work for had me off the phone yesterday for 2 hours to do annual training. And I had to sign paperwork agreeing to never use AI. And if I was going to use it, that I had to come to them first in order to gain managerial approval to use AI. And in the little slideshow presentation that they gave us, they explained that artificial intelligence is a misnomer and that the reality is that all AI is programmed by a human being and therefore it is poorly named. It's not actually AI. My own employer, the largest debt consolidation company in the United States, told its own employees it's programmed by a human. It can give you wrong information. It's not reliable, and you don't know if we don't fact check its information and we don't teach the AI, it doesn't learn. It's not useful to us. I tried to tell everyone. I'm a math whiz. I'm a you teach me how to do something whiz and I'll perfect that shit whiz. I was learning some shit until it came to AI. And my professors who had long careers were saying AI is a tool in your toolbox, but it's a nothing burger. It's not going to make or break your business. So that's Purdue University and the largest company in its industry denouncing artificial intelligence. I want to also point out that even our enemies like Facebook, like Meta Tools, have completely abandoned their AI projects. The CEO of OpenAI, I hope you saw this, talked about like a lack of an event horizon. There's nothing there's nothing gonna happen in AI that it takes a big leap forward. It's not gonna happen. Stop using AI, okay? Mostly because it fucking sucks. And let me make sure I hammer this point home. My beef is not that I have to teach AI or that it's learning from me. It's that when I ask it a question, it gives me the wrong fucking answer. And we already had Google search. And Google search could get you the right answer. What the fuck good is AI if in the same sort of query I'm getting the wrong answer? What good is AI now? So to see people that are elected officials get just hook, line, and sinker over artificial intelligence, they're too stupid to lead. That's the problem. We got stupid people in charge. Yeah, there's no big leap forward coming. There's nothing that's going to turn on AI where all of a sudden it thinks on its own and it's autonomous and it learns. That's not going to happen. There's no artificial intelligence is a misnomer. I've tried to say it, but you're seeing it happen in real time. My college professor who worked for AT&T as an executive who said we were really into data before it was even fucking cool. And data analytics is great, but AI, man, AI is it made him leave his post, like his job. He's like, I left my job as an executive at AT&T to come back and be a college professor and teach data analytics students and make sure that I tell them, hey, if I'm you, I would switch over to the video game development and learn programming. That's going to be more useful to you than artificial intelligence. And I didn't do that because I was like, come on, man. Like, I'm 42 years old and I'm going to get a game and get a degree in video game development. And by the way, I would have fucking loved to do that, right? But I was like, let me see what this data analytics program track looks like. And I'm telling you, those capstone courses, the last like 18 months of school, all AI shit. All AI. And I'd even started to take those capstone courses, and it was a complete 180 from the better portion of the education where you're actually learning how to do data analytics and what it is and shit before you get to the, oh, by the way, you could cut the legs off the whole process and just put the information into AI and let it fucking do and it's wrong, and it gives you the wrong information back. And you're talking about people that are like up at the top and in charge and shit, that are all over AI and like, and it's like it's Garbo though. I never figured out. Words have consequences. Ron DeSantis is about to get sued over calling a Muslim civil rights organization a foreign terrorist organization. Ron DeSantis is a real piece of shit too, huh? Trump allies went on a share buying spree, and top Democrats are calling for an investigation. Fossil fuel execs Robert Pender and Michael Sable deny wrongdoing after report on potential conflicts of interest. Yeah, Angie, ChatGPT says No, that wasn't ChatGTP. And Angie, it was another. It was an even worse. It was DeepSeek, which is supposed to be better than fucking ChatGTP. And what's funny about the language used, the thing about the language used on DeepSeek is accurate information. There aren't a bunch of news reports about his death, just about the shooting. And from what we understood, they fucked up that crime scene right away. There are people stomping all over that. There are people stomping all over that crime scene as soon as he slumps over. And a lot of people didn't put it all together right away, but there's some things that you see that let you know that he died right away. One of them is the stiffness followed by the slump. That's your nervous system shutting off. So he got shot in the spine, and there's no the fuck way around this. You can see him stiffen and then slump over. Yeah, the stiffness is from the shock of the shot, and the slump is when his fucking brain shut off. He's dead. Hmm. And they fucked that crime scene up right away, and they rushed it. They, collapsed the tent or whatever and threw the cloth over his body and shit and got him the fuck out of there. And then you didn't hear shit. No autopsy, no nothing. Why? Because if that autopsy gets out, it's curtains. Because that autopsy shows that bullet entered from the rear and it fucks up the case against Tyler Robinson. And Tyler Robinson, he's looking to me like he's gonna say he did it and try to take the glory because that was the plan. I think they got to him. Hmm. People are talking about somebody that's not a political candidate, Erica Kirk and Candace Owens. Biden has raised little of what he needs to build a presidential library. So a guy who did nothing gets nothing. It's because he's a raging racist. Remember, the person that was fueling Charlie Kirk's shitty ideas is Erica Kirk, who has a PhD in shit in bullshit. Okay. People said when Zohran Mamdani got elected that rich people were gonna move away from New York, right? But that's actually not what's happening. It's not what's happening. The sales of luxury homes have spiked in the Big Apple. People are buying homes in New York City. Hmm. And then we've been talking about it. Oh, look, a Trump peace deal falling apart. Here's an NPR article. Here's an NPR article about Donald Trump calling himself the peace prez and how all those peace deals are falling the fuck apart, Don. What peace, man? And people are like, oh, Don and Melania are in love. Oh, yeah? This is how in love they are. This is how in love they are. Donald Trump admits he has no fucking clue what Melania is doing about her new First Lady initiative. I don't know what she's doing. Now, he's got dementia. So it's not like he was going to fucking remember anyway. But to be at the fucking event with her at a ball, the Take It Down Act. She's got a wonderful boy and she's very proud of him. Talking about Barron Trump. Based on his language, I'm guessing that's not his kid. Uh, Melania had lobbied Congress to pass the Take It Down Act targeting the online distribution of revenge porn. So I'm guessing she's in some revenge porn. The TSA is providing air passenger data to immigration agents for their deportation effort. So remember, this regime promised sweeping deportations over 14 million people. They don't even have like a couple 100,000. They're failing. So what they're doing is going to the TSA to get passenger information so they can literally drag people out of the airport. Progressives are launching a primary challenge for a Democrat who has taken $2 million from AIPAC. AIPAC spent $2 million to oppose progressive Nida Alam from being elected in North Carolina in 2022. Oh, you wouldn't call him her kid if that was your child. It makes me wonder who Bubba is. Somebody's asking. We'll talk about it. Why is nobody talking about Alan Dershowitz? So here's a BBC article. Democratic U.S. lawmakers released two new batches of photos from Jeffrey Epstein's estate, revealing details of the convicted pedophile's home and ties to the rich and powerful. And oh, by the way, I did see Jeffrey Epstein wrote an email to all the pedophiles. I love you all. Ew. U.S. President Donald Trump, former Prince Andrew, Mountbatten Windsor, and former Trump advisor Steve Bannon, that the guy with the syphilis face, among the high-profile figures in the images, which may have been seen before, do not imply wrongdoing. No, but means you were there. 100 photos were released. Wow, I only saw like the first 20. That shit must have got juicy, huh? I seen you talking about it in the comments when we were talking about world news. The 100 photos released by the House Oversight Committee on Friday are some of the more than 95,000 images obtained via subpoena. So they're just going to keep leaking evidence. Mm-hmm. Clearly, Donald Trump has a small dick because he has a condom with his face on it that says "I'm huge." Woody Allen, Bill Gates. Bill Clinton's in a picture. You know what I mean? By the way, Hillary Clinton is pro-Israel. Fuck her too. Ron DeSantis is a piece of shit. Part Droit. Uh, the DeSantis administration diverted child welfare and medical funds for consultants and ads. Child welfare and medical funds to pay consultants instead. Ron DeSantis is a huge piece of shit, huh? See, I tried to tell you. Yeah, like somebody needs to tell Hillary, hey, your husband not only fucked around on you, Monica Lewinsky, but he was friends with fucking noted pedophiles. And he's in pictures with noted pedophiles. You need to like fix your fucking self. You can't even fix your husband. Looks like Bill's fucking everybody but Hillary, and then Hillary's fucking us. You know what I mean? Donald Trump says sign language services intrude on Trump's ability to control his image. And she's pro-Israel. And again, I think that all of these people believe if the pressure gets bad enough, I'll just go to Israel. That's why they still prop up Israel. If they're ever held accountable, they'll just leave the country. hmm The House GOP has unveiled their health care plan with a vote on track for next week. There you go. Oh, you mean sloth? The U.S. has raided a Chinese vessel delivering military equipment to Iran. The ship was boarded on the Indian Ocean a month ago. Military equipment was seized. That's how wars start. I was kept pretty quiet, huh? Iran is rebuilding its new missile capabilities with aid from China. New Yorkers are banding together to protect street vendors from ICE. God, I love New York. That was a month ago. Remember, I didn't hear about this. Did you hear about this? Did you hear about U.S. forces boarding a Chinese vessel meant for Iran and taking several pieces of equipment? It's the reason that we're here every day. Hey, there's a reason we're here every single day, 8 a.m. till 9:30, because we know mainstream media ain't reporting a lot of this shit. If it ain't glazing Donald J. Trump, it's not being shown to the masses. There's a reason we come in here every single day. Hey, Peter Green died. He was in Pulp Fiction and The Mask. Once you see his face, you'll recognize him. We do a little entertainment, a little sports. We talked about Army Navy game. I made a piece of content this morning talking holy shit and saying, every sailor, marine, coastie, and fucking airman I've ever met have been completely normal human beings. It's these fucks that join the army that are batshit crazy. Go Navy, beat Army from this old marine. Mm-hmm. The FDA is approving its first new antibiotics to treat gonorrhea in decades, with a hope to combat its drug resistance. I'm dying. A SoCal woman visiting New York City stabbed multiple times while changing her baby's diaper in the Macy's bathroom. What the fuck? A woman claims she was hearing voices in her head telling her to kill before she allegedly stabbed a Jurupa Valley woman who was changing her baby's diaper in the bathroom of a Macy's store in New York City. Do what? No. They're already releasing emails and photos like all the time. I think like here's what I think. What else could there be? Dinosaurs? Like what else do you need to see to feel like the Epstein files have been released? Dead ass. I don't need to see anything else to know that we were right. So it's like, what do you mean? What else could you need to see? I feel like I saw enough. I saw enough in the room with the fucking the funny looking chair and the masks and shit. I was like, oh yeah, they were raping bitches. Yeah, this shit was not fun. That don't look fun. That looks like torture. That looks like I'm being forced to do that against my will. So I want to make sure we talk about it. What happens to the White House now that they stopped building? Yeah, he's being yeah, uh-huh. Yeah, they're just as damning. No, I don't. Here's what I think. I think this regime was blindsided by the things being released from the Epstein estate, and they're blindsided by the photos released yesterday, because Donald Trump believes it's like there's only one copy of all of this shit. That's the overarching thing that I just don't think a lot of people realize is that where do you think the photos that were subpoenaed came from? Because they only released 100 and there's 95,000 of them. How many more pictures could the DOJ have? And then the emails that came from the Epstein estate. I don't think this regime thought that was going to happen. So that's why I'm saying like what else what else is there? I mean, we're in my eyes we're seeing the tip of the fucking iceberg and it's too much, put it back. You know what I'm saying? That's how I think about it. Is that I've said before, we've seen too much, we know too much, we've heard too much. Good Lord, baby Jesus. And I get it. There's people that are like, I want to see it all. Okay, but what do you think you're gonna get with the Epstein files that the emails and pictures aren't giving you? Is it the actual acts themselves? Are there actual, nut deep pictures or porn? Well, then that makes sense that Melania came out against revenge porn and that she's passing the take it down bill. I'm willing to bet you there's shit that she's going to try to keep from being shown using the take it down bill. Okay. I think that they killed people. I think they tortured and killed people. I'm answering my own question. In my eyes, if we were doing shit over 20 years, I hate to be like this. I'm not a criminal. I don't have a criminal record. I wouldn't ever put my hands on someone. But if I'm going to be a fucking pedophile rapist, those half a dozen or so victims that spoke. Those are the survivors. Those are the ones that made it. Yeah. I don't need to see pictures or video. I can already imagine. Dude, I watched 8 millimeter as a kid. Okay? Nicolas Cage. It's about porn. It's about a style of porn called a snuff film, where you kill someone while you have sex with them. Wonder what will turn up at Zorro Ranch. Or is that 16 millimeter and I'm an idiot? I think it's 8 millimeter. Yeah. I'm answering my own question. I think they will find blood, DNA, remains, a mass grave. There, I said it. And understand, Trump has an island. There's another island. I think there are bodies. I think there's a pile of bodies somewhere. 20 fucking years. Everybody was in on it. Donald Trump used his wives, his kids. He was working with Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell. Donald Trump's wife and Ghislaine would ride around to find girls. And not you guys, but like there are people that think they were just fucking. Nah, doggy. Somebody got in there and was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this shit. And they got fucking fucked anyway. You were just not here. And thrown in a fucking pit and probably set on fire. The warning on the ball gag thing? Jesus Christ. So that's what my question was. What do you think it's going to show that you haven't already seen? And I'll say it. Bodies. That's the only thing. So they're guilty of mass murder. It would not surprise me if Donald Trump was a serial killer. Like someone that did this over and over and over again. Would not surprise me at all. Utah has repealed their ban on collective bargaining for teachers, firefighters, and police unions. So you can look forward to protest, boycott, and strike. Teachers, firefighters, and police unions. I did not know this. I did not know this. This is December 12th, 2025. Yesterday. The John Benet Ramsey murder, the police are still collecting and testing evidence. I didn't know that. Did you know that? John Benet Ramsey, wasn't she like the little girl that was in beauty pageants and shit? 81 women are filing a civil suit against an Army gynecologist that had already been charged criminally. So they are going to lose their license. Blaine McGraw, accused of inappropriately touching and secretly filming patients during appointments on base. Welcome to Fort Hood. Yeah, somebody said Erica Kirk is Mossad. I like many of you was wondered what the fuck was Sharon Moore being charged with after he was fired from being Michigan's head football coach and then arrested. Here's the AP News article. What is he being arrested for? Okay? He's being arrested for barging his way into the apartment of a woman with whom he'd been having an affair, threatened to kill himself after she reported the relationship to the school, and he lost his job. Oh. Moore was charged with 3 crimes, including felony home invasion and stalking. Moore and the woman had been having an affair for a number of years before she ended the relationship on Monday. Moore was dismissed for an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. Shortly after losing his job, he stormed into the woman's apartment, then proceeded to a kitchen drawer, grabbed several butter knives and a pair of kitchen scissors, and began to threaten his own life. Ooh, that's some weak shit. Fuck out of here with that. Yeah, so they stopped, from what I understand, they stopped construction on the ballroom. Donald Trump has been sued by preservationists seeking reviews and congressional approval for that ballroom project on. Man guilty of wife's murder after their child reveals the plot. Kids are going to be alright. You know what you don't do is you don't cop for your family. Federal judge has issued an order to prohibit immigration officials from detaining Kilmar Brego Garcia. Okay. Yeah. So remember, he tore down the East Wing. He's not allowed to do that. He probably didn't even pay the people that did it. And because that's how Donald Trump does. The FDA is putting its most serious warning on COVID vaccines. What if, I mean, his crypto's crashing. His money is. Almost made me spit my drink out. Here's an article from the NPR about how Head Start centers have been told to avoid uh, disabled and women when they request funding. And I think that's where we'll shut her down. Okay? Oh, shit. I don't know if this is the way I'd do it, Don. Just throw this the fuck out there. Oh, man. Let's listen to a little bit of Eat the Rich and enjoy your Saturday. Remember, Army Navy at 3. Go Army, beat Navy. Wait, go Navy, beat Army. Sorry. Can't have me flip flopping like Donald, right? All right. And then, yeah, Indiana lawmakers uh, defeated Donald Trump's redistricting plan here in Indiana. And still no one will fucking vote. So if you ever wonder if you ever wondered how I felt about shit. All right, lake effect snow warning, New York. Lake effect snow is going to put out 3 to 4 inches an hour. Hey, holy shit. Hey. In New York, in New York, that's a lot. 3 to 4 inches of snow an hour is a ton. Okay, Taylor, this is what I'm talking about how ideal it would be to live in a camper. And then when shit comes, you're just like, let's go for a ride. Let's not. Oh my God. Okay. Here's why I say, oh my God. So we'll show everybody on YouTube the National Radar. And I say, oh my God, because it's like, that's a lot. Okay. So if you live in the western, southern, or central part of the United States, have a fantastic day. You ain't got shit to worry about. Okay. Looks like a little bit of spot of rain in Washington State. And then basically from Wyoming, Montana, and the Dakotas all the way to the eastern seaboard. And it's kind of a hand, right? So starting in eastern, it's Wyoming, through the Dakotas, but really the stormish, the sleet and snow is from southeast South Dakota, northeast Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois, the home, Indiana, into Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia, New York, Pennsylvania. I see a big weather in Alabama, which is going to drift over into Georgia. So basically, like I said, if you live in the west, southwest, or central part of the United States, you're going to be fine. Everybody else, though, head on a swivel. We just talked about uh, 4 to 6 inches of snow, 3 million, 2.7 million people impacted here in Indiana. Okay, as far as I know, we have not gotten 4 to 6 inches of snow. So here's to hoping the power doesn't go out. That's my big fear. Um, Nobody asked, but just true. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say more like Mother Nature said no. Yeah. Enjoy your Saturday. We'll see you tomorrow.